Thank you very much, Sean, and a huge welcome and thanks for inviting me, first and foremost, onto this webinar. I've not done many of these, but yeah, I hope it goes well, and thank everybody for tuning in, and hopefully you'll enjoy. I hope the next 1 hour. As an introduction, as you see on the screen, I'm currently involved in a project, and in that project we are a team of 16. We have to do a global analysis, and we have meetings in Zurich. And the last meeting in Zurich, everybody had to do it, and most of them, the majority of them, were all PowerPoint, video, slides, so much technology. And then this German coach pops up, Eric, 65 years old, German coach, been with Franz Beckenbauer, 30 votes, every World Cup with them. He's won the World Cup as a coach in the Bundesliga, and he stepped forward, and basically all he had was a flip chart and pen, and on the flip chart and with his pen he wrote, "The success of a team is these 11 things on the field and these 3 things off the field." From his experience over many, many years working in Germany, the Bundesliga and international football. And I really pinched the idea from him. I told him I would. Why I liked it was because it was so simple. And that's been my motto, definitely for the last 20, 25 years, is don't complicate things, keep things simple, which is why you're only seeing a slide and hopefully myself in the corner alongside it. So I want to keep it simple. And this is what I think. I took the idea of 11 and 3, but I sort of flipped it and said, okay, from my experience over 30 years working with international players, Manchester United, all the way through, and managing, what do I think makes a successful team in the modern era? Now, look, what I'm going to show you, what I'm going to tell you, you all know, everybody knows. But during it, some things you will have forgot, some things will be confirmed, and some things you'll be reminded of. I will be happy if you take just 1 or 2 things away from this presentation and you think about and you use in your coaching. Let me start. And I always have to start with the goalkeeper. I remember I had a conversation with Sir Alex when I worked with him at Manchester United, and for 3 years, getting to know him. And I just said, I think halfway through, how do you build your teams? Because over 28, 30 years, he built about 5 teams. And he said, he said, I start with my 2 centre-backs and I start with the 2 centre-forwards, because the game is about what happens in one box and what happens in the other box. That's it. In the middle, everything goes on, but I build my teams around 2 centre-backs, 2 centre-forwards. I worked with him for 3 years, and after 3 years, I would add 2 more people to that. One would be a centre midfield player, because he always had a general in midfield. Down that spine, a general in midfield. I was fortunate I worked with Roy Keane. I think before that there was likes of Paul Ince, Brian Robson, Paul Scholes. He always had that leader in that middle of midfield. And the other one, I will say, not forgetting, is the goalkeeper. Goalkeepers are so important. Goalkeepers win your games, they lose your games, and they draw you games that you don't deserve to draw. I always say to my goalkeepers, the biggest thing you have to do, your number 1 job, keep the ball out of the net. Make saves, catch crosses, save penalties, whatever. Keep that ball out of the net. Number 1. The rest, technique, decision making, every other job I'm going to go through, we'll work on that. But you have to keep the ball out of the net. Schmeichel. Manchester United, we would not have won the treble in '99 had Peter Schmeichel not saved Dennis Bergkamp's penalty in a semi-final of the FA Cup. In the last minute of the game, he saved it, extra time, we won it, we went on, and from then on, we felt invincible and won the treble. Sander Bosker, when I won the title in Holland, he was my goalkeeper. After every game, if he made a save at the end, I said, mark that down, 3 points. Sander Bosker got us 3 points. Put that down, Sander got us a point. That save at the end kept us a draw. At the end of the season, he attributed 18 points himself, 18 points to us winning that title. Schwarzer, Mark Schwarzer at Middlesbrough. I remember we played a full season. We played Man City the last game, 38th game. We had to draw against Man City to go back into Europe for the 5th season. Robbie Fowler steps up. I think I'll put my mortgage on him scoring. Robbie Fowler steps up. I said, that's us. We're out of Europe. Our dreams will be in tatters and the club will be ruined financially. He saved the penalty. 38 games, 95 minutes, 1 penalty save from a goalkeeper, put us in Europe the next season where we got to the UEFA Cup final. They are so, so important. Get a good one, make vital saves. Every successful team has one. In the modern day, 2 things I think goalkeepers have developed, but we have to coach and we have to train, and that's ongoing anyway. One, they have to be an outfield player, without a shadow of a doubt. They have to have the technique, they have to keep with and pass with both feet. They have to make the right decisions. And I think that's the key thing, the right decisions. We used to have every goalkeeper that I have, and I say to the goalkeeping coach, after every game, we sit down with the goalkeepers, every training session, and we look through his clips and we say, was that the right decision? Was that the right decision? You kick to the right, look at the left, it was free. You kick down the middle, look, you can play to the centre halves. So education, education, education. On top of keeping the ball out of the net, he was our build-up and our start of our build-up guy. Successful teams have them, but the goalkeepers generally make the right decisions. If they don't, they concede goals. The third thing, keep the ball out of the net, be an outfield player, sweep a keeper. Look, top successful teams play the opponent's half. There's a lot of space behind the back 4 in their own half. Goalkeepers now do not stay in their line. They have to be sweeper keepers. They have to be quick. They have to react. You know, the biggest thing they have to do is concentrate. Concentration for a goalkeeper is key. That's when they make mistakes. They concede goals, make the wrong decisions when they lack focus and concentration. It's all about that. So goalkeeper, they are number 1 and they are my number 1. I get a good one, he wins me games without the shadow of a doubt. I'll move on to centre-backs. What Sir Alex said was he's bedrock of everything. Again, I go back, everything starts with the basics. Centre-backs must be able to defend. Successful teams, top teams, they must defend on the halfway line, even stepping into the opponent's half. They have to, because the fullbacks are going high now in the modern game. Sometimes they're left 1 against 1, sometimes they're left 2 against 2. They have to be able to defend against that. I think there are 2 types of centre-backs. There are the smart ones and there are the quick ones. If you get both, like Van Dijk at Liverpool, then you're onto a winner. He is top, and he has made the difference in Liverpool being also Rans and going to win the title and being the top team and winning European Cups. Van Dijk. Smart, you have to mark, you have to go in, you have to make small fouls. Quick, then that centre-back has the speed to recover for the space in behind. But they have to be able to defend high up the park now. So smart, quick, or both. If you find that, you're very lucky. The second and most important place where they have to defend is in the box. The majority of goals are scored in the 6-yard box and the second 6-yard box. I call it the 2 6-yard boxes. 90% of goals are scored there. The centre-backs, it's their job when they're low block, and top teams still have to low block defend. Liverpool had to do it to win the European Cup last season against Tottenham, and they defended them 2 6-yard boxes with their lives. First and foremost, you have to be brave. You have to get blocks, you have to win headers, and you have to be aggressive. But the key thing for a defender when he centre-back when he defends is, again, like the goalkeeper, is concentration and focus. That is the difference. I have found at top level, top defenders focus and concentrate. Concentration in defenders, they lack it, they make mistakes, they concede goals. Top ones do not do that. Of course, in the modern game, they've got to be able to build up. In terms of, they've got to be brave. Goalkeepers, centre-backs, they've got to be brave. Brave in taking the ball. It was one of Sir Alex's things. You've got to take the ball. Be brave. Have the courage. Pep Guardiola, you see his video, half-time team talk, I'm trying to give you courage. Play, 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 play. And that's your responsibility as a coach to give them that courage and bravery to take the ball and play. They've got to pass short and long. They've got to be able to do that. They've got to be able to brave and step in into midfield, make the extra man. And again, the key thing is decision making. We do with the centre backs what we do with the goalkeeper. Every game, step in. Did you make the right decision? Did you see that was on? Look, wrong decision. Look, you played right, the left side's on. Education, education, all the way through in terms of decision making. I'll move on to the fullbacks. Fullbacks are becoming converted wingers for me. But like the centre backs, what's the primary job and the foundation of their game should be defending, and defending one against wide players, against wingers, against speed, against dribblers. The art of defending one against one is going out of the game. Please bring it back into the academies because I don't see enough of it. Getting close to players, getting tight with players, and stopping crosses, because crosses make goals. And there's too many crosses going into the box I see in modern day football because fullbacks can't defend. They must be able to defend. One, to stop crosses, and two, similar to the centre backs, when they're at that far post, they must defend that far post with their lives, similar to the centre backs. That means they've got to be brave, they've got to be aggressive, and they've got to be, like the centre backs, focused and concentrated, and the body position's got to be right. Defending, number one. Again, modern day, they've got to be attackers. They've got to be attackers. Top team, the benchmark, Liverpool, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson left side. Wow, the delivery, the crosses are unbelievable. They have to be quality. They're like the winger. They must get half a yard and be able and adaptable to make that half a yard through combinations, 1-2s, through a dribbling, or through a combination of things. But they must have end product. They must deliver quality crosses. Takes me to all successful teams, all of them. The foundation has always been the back four and the goalkeeper. It's about clean sheets. Working with Sir Alex, I remember the first game on the Saturday, joined him on the Friday, played on the Saturday, played Notts Forest, won 8-1. 1-8-1. I went in on Monday morning, what the hell do I coach? And I stuck to that one goal and I went, that's what I'm going to coach. I'm going to coach that one goal because I can't teach them how to attack and how to score goals. They just scored 8. So I've got to, so all day, video, back four, all the time. And it was strange because one of Sir Alex's things was He's always said to me, the last 10 games of the season, Stevie, I want clean sheets. Clean sheets win championships. We will always score, but I want clean sheets. So I worked on that. What I did, I took them clean sheets, I took it over to Holland into 20. They thought I was crazy. They had never even heard of clean sheets. They were all about scoring goals, attacking football, possession, outpassing the opponent. There was no thought of keeping clean sheets. And that's what I brought into them. We won the title with 18 clean sheets. 18 won the title. I remember my first season in management at Borough, talking about clean sheets. We were hopeless. We conceded 13 goals, scored none in the first 4 games. We couldn't score goals. And I said, the only way we're going to win this, we had Boxic, who could score. He was the only one in the team who could, and he could score. So we'd score 1 goal maybe a game, 2 if we're lucky. So we must keep clean sheets. And that's all we worked on. 2 banks of 4, a 10 dropped in, feed the number 9, he'll win the game. We won so many games 1-0 that season or 0-0 and survived my first season to get the second season and 5 more. So clean sheets are important, coming from your back 4 and your goalkeeper. I'll add to that set plays. An interesting one. Set plays, win your games and lose your games. Set plays 4, win your games. Win your games. It's no surprise that Liverpool, apart from Bournemouth, I think they're second in the team. Liverpool has scored the most goals from set pieces. No surprise. They win you games. How do they win you games? If you've got in your team a free kick specialist, you remember Beckham. I used to work with Beckham at Manchester. How many games he won at Manchester United? England, that game against Greece in the last minute, a draw, we're going out of the World Cup. A win, we go through. Free kick, 35 yards out. I see it now in my mind. And I've seen him so many times on the training field do it. Hours after hours of practice, 35 yards out, top corner, win 2-1 goal. They win you games. They win you tight games. They win you big games. When you're against packed defences who give free kicks away, you need a free kick specialist. On corners, wide free kicks, you need good delivery. Good delivery. Put it in the right area. Good, brave, attack the ball. Set plays 4, win your games. Set plays against, lose your games. Lose your games. When you're a small team, when you're a lesser team, and you play a big team, sometimes your only chance of winning the game will be a set piece, a set play. A lot of teams work on that, and you must be good at that. You must be good. One, and the German, Eric taught me this one. He said in Germany, for the World Cup, when they won it, I think in Brazil, Jürgen Low, he said, I don't want anybody giving a free kick away in our defensive third. Not one. And he said, we went through the World Cup and gave 1 free kick away in our defensive third. And I've used that. I've used that before. Don't give corners away if you don't have to, but definitely keep on your feet. Don't give free kicks away. In and around the box, when the pressure's on the last 10 minutes, top teams, that's where they score the goals. They get free kicks in and around the box. Stay on your feet. Wide corners. If you've got somebody who can deliver, it's no good. So make sure you don't give free kicks away. You also have to have a dominant goalkeeper, back 4, and 2 others in your team. I think you have to defend and have good, brave, aggressive headers who will attack the ball. 6 of them at least. 5, you could be struggling. If you're not, you can concede. You can lose games or draw games that you should win against lesser teams purely on set plays. They are vital. You must take time with them. You must treat them importantly. Some teams don't. I've always done that and always tried to be good at set pieces because they win games. I move on to spaces. And it's a little bit about the modern game and what's happening. What do I mean by spaces? I really mean compactness. I looked at the stats in the World Cup final in Russia, France against Croatia, and they showed the average position of each team throughout the game. Both of them, roughly, both of them, but definitely France, out of possession, their team was 32 metres by 24 metres. Out of possession. In possession, their team was 44 metres by 29 metres. Not a great deal more on what they do. Top teams do it so well, successful. They concertina in and then it's out. Lose it in, out when they win it. In and out, but not so they are stretched. They're always compact, whether they defend high and press, drop to the mid block, or low block. The team is 32 by 24. They allow no space through the middle. They allow space in the wide areas. They allow space behind their back four, where the sweeper keeper, they're hoping he's on his toes and collecting things. But they are brave and courageous. They never let teams come through the middle, or may invite it through the middle, and then they win it, and then they go back. So an excellent example. Once met Johan Cruyff when I was at 20. What an honour. We were talking about Barcelona, and his Barcelona, he said, Steve, he said, we never, ever got out of shape. We always stayed compact. 90% of our passing was short passes, 10, 20 metres maximum. Why? The team was always compact. If they lost the ball, the short ball, everybody was around it to win it back in 5 seconds. And that was his motto. That comes from being compact throughout the team. I'll move on to big subject, fitness. How that has changed since the Premier League started 15 years ago. High speed runs and sprint distance has doubled in that time. Endurance, 12K plus, and the ball is in play an extra 12 minutes. The demands of the game, the intensity of the game, and the speed now is going higher and higher and higher. Everyone's an athlete. So we must improve our high speed runs and our sprints. And we measure that normally within a minute. We try to get that up within a minute. So sprint, recover, sprint, recover, sprint, recover. One of the stats I always say, I always pick about 3 stats. Give me 3 stats that we do well. And when we do it well, do we win football matches? Something we can give the team. And one of them stats always, whichever team I go to, is if we out sprint and high speed runs, if we outdistance them in that, we will win the game. We will win the game. Or 8 out of 10, we will win the game. You need so much speed now in the game, so much speed. Liverpool a perfect example in terms of Mane and Salah, especially in wide areas going through, fullback areas. Speed transitions. You see the Bayern Munich team, that left back Davis. I've never seen anything so quick. Why you need it in transitions, which we'll go on to after this. The demands of the game are improving, so everybody, the key word I say to everybody is players must be robust. We must get that in academies. We must get that in our youth football, because not a lot of people are coming in from youth football and being robust. That means keeping your players fit. Keeping your players fit. But Manchester United, in that treble season, played 67, I think, games. 67 games. 67. And being robust was all about planning, rotation, and injury prevention programs. Fergie planned the season from the beginning, rotated early, talked about injury prevention program in terms of some players he would give a holiday to. Give Beckham 2 weeks in December off, go on holiday. Schmeichel the same. He always made sure in January we had a mini pre-season, and then we're ready for the last 10 games of the season, which was his most important way to go. But only because he seemed to recruit and get robust players. but he looked after them through rotation, through the squad, all the way through. I move on to transitions. For me, the key thing, and it was when I was in Germany, I moved to Germany with Wolfsburg in 2011, 2012, and I saw the future of football. I didn't know it then, but I saw the future of football. When it came up against Dortmund, Jurgen Klopp's team in Germany, the second game away from home, they blew me away. 60 minutes we lived with them, they blew us away in terms of fitness, speed, and transitions all the way through. The second game was unbelievable. What they did well, they smothered you. They always won the ball back 5 to 8 seconds. When they won it back, they always scored or had a chance in 5 to 8 seconds. And if you happen to beat their press, they always recovered back to shape, mid-block, low block, within 5 to 8 seconds. I had never seen anything like it before in my life. And they choke you. They choked. I remember the game we played at Wolves. They choked us to death. And I went after. I said, it's impossible to play against them. He's brought that to the Premier League. And he's got the right players. He's got them fit, playing with intensity, right formation. And he suffocates opponents through sheer transitions. When they won it, they played forward. And they had such speed on transition, and they run beyond you and scored within 5 seconds. The key was when they lost it, they were in position to win it back so quickly. So they defended when they attacked, and that's the key thing. I always remember going to 20 in Holland, and they said, it's rest defence. I said, what's rest defence? Never heard of rest defence. Rest defence, well, while we attack, or we're having a rest at the back, we must defend. And I read an interesting article from Nuno Esperantes from Wolves. And his training, when they have possession, he stops training. And he says, right, if we lose the ball now, are we in the right positions to win it back quickly? If we lose the ball now, are we in the right positions to win it back quickly? So he works on that moment just before they lose the ball. So these teams, successful teams, and I remember at Manchester United, we never worried about giving the ball away with a risky forward pass. We never worried. But were we in position to then press or win the second ball, win it back in 5 seconds, and attack in second phase or third phase or fourth phase? That's what top teams do well. Transitions about scoring. The next ones are about scoring, creativity. What I mean by creativity, I'm talking about really midfield players here. Biggest example I can give is Manchester United, and I look at them at the present moment in modern. But going back to my days with Sir Alex, I always said about midfield, but he said, you know what, tell a midfield player the only way I pick a midfield player, if he plays the ball forward. If he looks forward and plays the ball forward, he says, anybody goes square, anybody goes backwards, I hate it. They're not a midfield player. And he had such quality midfield players, and Paul Scholes was a perfect example. And he didn't mind taking a risk as long as they played forward. Your key to it, you see the modern day Manchester United, they had no creativity in midfield at all. Rashford, all them with pace up front, James, all them with pace up front, no one to supply them with it. Nobody. All of a sudden they signed a boy Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon, and he only plays the ball forward, or he only looks forward. He gives the ball away a lot of times. But I tell you something, they run for him now, and it's changed Manchester United's dynamic and their team because of the creativity that they've got in midfield. There are 3 types. A sitter must link from back to front. He must get the ball to the 2 8s or the 8 and the 10. The wide plays as quick as possible. That's his job. That's his job. He starts it, get it to them as quick as possible. You have a passer who sprays the ball. Paul Scholes, just sprays the ball all over, crossfield, diagonals, but can play that killer pass over the defence for the strikers. And the old number 10s, the little dribblers, the little combination players, the little through balls, the little threads. It was a lot of. Dwight York was one of the best I've worked with in terms of dropping in number 10, turning, combining, dribbling, 1-2s, playing that killer pass through. I think the key is absolute balance. You must have that in the modern day. What modern day try to, and they tend to do now more than anything, is they have a sitter, like Fabinho for Liverpool, like Fernandinho, Rodri now, who's doing that. Somebody who quickly turns, never gives the ball away, can turn quick, and feed and link the front players and get it to them quickly. Now we've changed, and the 10s have had to adapt. So it's more like a sitter now in 2-8s. And ideally, Manchester City, Liverpool are playing that at the present moment. By Munich, I've seen them playing that at the present moment. And the 10s have had to adapt to that and come to the side. Mount has done that. Maddison has done that. They've moved to the side and must be more midfield players than actually number 10s. So they've had to adapt. Creativity in midfield is absolutely vital. We move on to penetration, depth, runners. Basically, runners running deep. Behind defenders. Why behind defenders? Because defenders hate being turned. They hate people running behind them. They love it when people are in front of them. They can see the ball, they can see the man, they can see the play. Then they've got the cigar, they can swap, they can do anything. But the key is depth and penetration. 2 examples I give. Sir Alex, the only time he's ever told me, he always told first days, so what do I coach? He said, go out there and coach. And he never told me exactly what to coach. The only time he told me what to coach, he says, Stevie, I'm fed up of our wide players and our number 9 and our number 10 dropping in and getting the ball to feet and wanting coming to the ball, to the ball, to the ball. I want them running away from the ball and in behind defenders. So for 1 week, 2 week, third man runs, runners in behind, runners in behind. He said, penetration, I need. People don't score outside the box. I go back to the 2 6-yard boxes. 90% of the goals come from there. You must get runners going into them areas. And the top teams do it. From wide, you see Man City, you see Liverpool do it, you see Manchester United do it. With the speed that they've got, they're the runs inside, from wide to in. They do that all the time. They do it from midfield players, they're 2-8s. They're runners into the box and they must make runs. They must do that. And the number 9, your Aguero type, even Firmino type, always looking to get in behind centre backs, playing in between them. Penetration is absolute key. One of the trends, I spoke to Arsene Wenger with FIFA during this project. So what's the next trend? What's the biggest trend coming? He said teams must penetrate and penetrate in a different way. Now, instead of penetrating straight, they've got to go and slash runs across, and especially in the just 2 areas, either side of the 6-yard box. That's where midfield players and wide players are penetrating now and exposing. Depth penetration. With that, I move on to the wide areas. Top teams all the time come up against packed, organised, low block defences. Difficult to get through. Yes, need runners. Yes, need combinations, but there's no space to run into. Combinations, they're in good shape and good defenders. They can hold out. And then they transition against them. The only way you can unbalance defences, get the extra man, get defenders out of that box is by beating the fullbacks or beating players, especially through the middle. The philosophy when I went to Holland, the philosophy at 20 was we create the extra man at the back, the goalkeeper, back four, create the extra man into midfield, and then create one-on-ones in the final third. We had 2 speedy wingers, And we just created, once you created one-on-ones, don't come back, take them on, take them on. Outside, inside, take them on, take them on. And they were frightening. Create the extra man, get it in a final third, one-on-ones, and your number nines and things like that. So create that, get the one-on-ones in the final third. I'll move on to the most important man in the team, I think, is your number 9. If you want to win trophies, you want to win titles, you've got to have a goal scorer. Every successful team has one. Yes, you're 7 and you're 11, you're 2 8s from midfield. They have to score. They have to assist. Yes, they do. But your number 9 has to score. He must score. Right foot, left foot, headers. He must be in the right place at the right time. And I go back to that. 2 6-yard boxes. 90% of the goals coming in there. You look at the top, Aguero, you look at them, Jesus, you look at them. You look at the strikers, the top strikers, even Firmino, they're in the 2 6-yard boxes. They're in the right place at the right time. And the only way to score is through belief and confidence. Belief and confidence. When you lose confidence and you lose belief, and I've seen it in many, many teams, the number 9 doesn't get in the box. Your 7 and 11 keep out the box. For some reason, the Sharks in there, they keep out the box. Proper number 9s with belief and confidence, they get into the box all the time. Some are secure, some are insecure. They're strange creatures, strikers. They're strange, but they win your football matches. Secure strikers, the best striker in the Premier League, Alan Shearer. I always remember a quote from him. He missed a chance. He said, Stevie, I don't bother. Don't bother. He said, I'll just wait for the next one. And I can't wait for it. I know I'll score that one. And I had the insecure one in Kufo for 20. When we won the title, after 8 games, he hadn't scored a goal. I took him off in a cup game against a lesser team, 5 or 6-0 up. He hadn't scored. And he was fuming the last 20 minutes he came off. Purely to rest, we had a big game on the Saturday. He came into my office. What are you doing, trainer? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? He says, I can't score. I haven't scored. That was my opportunity to get the first goal. And I just sat down and said, Kufo, how many goals did you score last season? He said, 23. I said, and the season before? 26. And the season before that? 25. I said, and you will score 20 plus this season as well. So don't worry. You have to put your arm around them. You have to give them that belief and that confidence and keep them running into the box. They will score. That season we won the title, he scored 25 goals. Didn't score in the first 8. Goal scorers, must have them. Look, there's my 11 elements, ingredients that you need on the field. I believe every successful team has them ingredients. Certainly, if I've won anything, I've seen it. But the Manchester United promotion with Derby, I've seen it. They have these 11 ingredients all the way through. All the way through. But you don't just win it on the field, you also win it off the field. And the 3 key things you need off the field, I believe you really need it to blend in with on the field. On the bench is game changers. Teams win games, so the 11 ingredients, they'll win the game, But off on the bench, subs, squads win games. Squads win championships. Teams win games, squads win championships. Without a shadow of a doubt. Every successful team knows, one, its strongest team for the big games, knows who's going to come on, when, and in what stage of the game and what job they're going to do. And the person who's coming on must know their job, accept, and this is the key thing, they must accept that's their role within the team. And the key thing is ready to impact. Because I've had many, many subs being disappointed, not accepted, not ready to impact when they come on. It's been a bad substitution. The best substitute I've worked with ever has been Solskjaer. incredible, incredible. And I used to say to him, you could play for any team in Europe and you stay on the bench majority of the time at Manchester United. He says, Steve, he says, I play 40 plus games a season. If I would drop down to another team, I would also only play 40 games a season. I play 40 games with the top teams and I win trophies and I win medals. That's why I'm playing. I know my job, I accept it, and I'm ready when the gaffer says, come on. My first game, I remember, we were 4-1 up and the gaffer, he put Solskjaer on the last 20 minutes. We won 8-1. He scored the 4 goals. Talk about being ready even at 4-1, hungry to go on. Game changers. To win a game, to draw a game, to close out a game, you need to know them. Every time I have known my best team and I've known we're 1-0 up, he goes on. I'm 1-0 down, he goes on, we go 2 up. I know that. Staff, people around you. On game day, I'm talking about. Look, everything is about Saturday. Everything is about game day. Sir Alex, in the week, he oversaw everything, trusted his people to do things. He came alive on the match day. He said, this is where I earn the money. Planning for the game, making changes and adapting to the situation. That's where he made his money. That's what he worked at. He had good people around him. So yes, Monday to Friday, prepare for the game on Saturday. Saturday, yes, come in with a plan, but be able to adapt. And sometimes, as a manager, you can't see things. You're in it, you got upset by a decision, you can't see it. And all of a sudden, you need people around you. You need an assistant who's non-emotional, who can actually read the game and what's happening, and who will tell you what to do. You have to have so much trust in that person. I haven't had it many times. I had it with Roundy, Steve Roundy, who's Arteta's assistant at Arsenal at the present moment. I had him at Middlesbrough. 2 quarter-final against Basel. We needed to score 3 goals in the second half, otherwise we were out of Europe. I said, what do we do? And Roundy just said, well, put the winger back to full-back, put another striker onto the left wing, take the defensive midfield player, put another one. I said, no, that opens it right up. He said, that's the only way we'll win it. Anyway, trusted him, we did it. We came back, we won the game. We went through into the semi-final. Can't believe it. Same scenario, exactly the same. Roundy, what do we do? What we did the last game, Gaffer, move him back there, move him back. Can't believe it worked twice. Got us to the UEFA Cup final. Great advice. I trusted Roundy, and he would tell me in the heat of battle, he would tell me when I was raging or whatever, he would tell me the truth and what to do. I had Eric Ten Hag at 20, my first season at 20. He's now head coach at Ajax. He could see a game. He could read a game on the bench. I have to read a game up in the stand. He used to sit on the bench and could read it. One game, we weren't controlling the game. We were getting dominated possession, which was not like us. I said, what do we do, Eric? He says, the number 10, he says, we move back to the number 6 as a controller. The controller we take off and we put another 8 on. So we go, our 10, we invert our midfield. I said, that's ridiculous. Kenneth, we cannot play him at controller. He's a number 10. Anyway, I followed it. I did it. We dominated the game and won the game. How we saw that, I do not know. It's why it's a success now at Ajax. I remember Paul Simpson. I was meant to sit in first game for Derby as manager. Up in the stand, I was going to stay there, just joined on the morning, watching the game. We're 4-1 down against Ipswich half-time. I said, flipping it, Simo, what do we do? He said, what would you do? I said, well, I'd take him off and I'd take him off and I'd do that. He says, well, you've got to go down and you've got to do that. I said, you serious? He says, that's what you've got to do. I did it. We came back, second half, 4-4. What a great start we got. Would not have done it. Would not have done any of them things without the people around me and a good assistant. They can win you games as well. Most important, I'll move towards the end. It's great, all these things, fullbacks and everything, but you have to bring it to life. You have to bring it to life with players. You have to bring it to life with character. Someone once said to me, Steve, you want to be a good coach? Get good players. Steve, you want to be a great coach? Get great players. You want to be a bad coach? Get bad players. And that's so true. But I will add one word: character. You want to be a good coach? Get good players with good character. You want to be a great coach? Get great players with great character. And you'll win things. Get no character, bad players, you lose things. You can have a combination of them, but character is imperative. It can make good players with character win titles or win cups without a shadow of a doubt. Recruit for character, not just talent. You can't win without a good dressing room. Dressing room, I could go on another hour about the combination of dressing room, what you need. I'll shorten it down really into 3 types you need in your dressing room. You need leaders. 80% of your output will come from 20% of your players, and then players will be your leaders. Why? Because they will drive the values that you've instilled in the group. They will drive discipline from everybody. They will drive culture. They will drive your vision. They are the ones. There'll only be 3 or 4 of them. You get a group of good leaders. Wow. Wow. I've never seen anything like Manchester United's dressing room in terms of leaders, but they drove it. Whatever the manager, they epitomised what the manager was, and they drove it. 80% of output from 20%, and they're the leaders. The other 80% of your people is soldiers, providing the extra 15%. The soldiers, and every team needs soldiers. Armies need soldiers. They don't want to lead. They want to follow. Many players do not want responsibility. They want to follow. They want to be told what to do. What's my job? And I'll do it. All you need to do is tell me, was that a good job or was that not a good job? That's all they want. It's so vital and so important within your football club to be doing that. And the others, third type, mavericks. They're the 5% in your team, sometimes 10%, 2 or 3 of them. Mavericks are unorthodox and single-minded. They are different. They are high maintenance. They must influence so high in winning football matches. They must be highly influential in that, and they must be accepted by the team. They're the 3 key things that you have to do. And I'll finish going through it really with one story in terms of Mavericks can win your games. And I haven't won anything, and Manchester United the same, without 1 or 2 Mavericks in the team. And they don't have to be a striker. They can be a goalkeeper. They can be a midfield player, a wide player, whatever. But they've got to have them 3 ingredients. Yes, they've got to be loved. They've got to be highly influential in winning. And the team must accept them. Little story, just to end. Ancelotti, young coach. He's got the job at Juve. It's a massive club. First game, it's an away game. The coach leaves at 3 o'clock. And I want you all to think and put yourself in this situation. Your first game, you're a young coach. You've got this big team, Juve. First away game, coach leaves at 3 o'clock. Everyone's on the bus. Only one person is missing at 3 o'clock. That person is Zidane. 3 o'clock. He's sat at the front. He has to make a decision. What would you do? What would you do? What he did? Driver, let's go. Driver went, you sure? Let's go. It's 3 o'clock. I'm the boss. These are the rules. Let's go. He got 50 yards down the road and he got a tap on his shoulder. He looks around and it's the captain. Yes? Mister. What? You can't go. It's 3 o'clock. He's late. we go. Mister, you don't understand. We go nowhere without Zidane. So he sits there. What would you do? Now you have another decision to make. Do you carry on or do you turn back and wait? He turned back and he waited. 10 minutes later, who turns up? Zidane. Jumps onto the bus. Sorry, mister, apologise. Oh, I did this, excuse traffic, we're on to the back. They went away, played at Atalanta. They win 1-0. Who scores? Zidane. They are different. They are high maintenance. They are frustrating. You want to kill them. But if they win your football matches and the team accept them, you have to have them in your team because they'll win your football matches and they keep you in a job. Now that's the difference. You can have a great team with great players. You can have all these ingredients on the field and off the field. It's decision making, keeping the group together and having a good dressing room and make sure you recruit characters as well as talent. On the field, off the field, your decisions ultimately that lead to success. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it and thank you for listening.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. We've had a feedback already and we've had a few questions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of go through some of the questions and just a lot of them have been answered already through the course of what you've been saying. So I'll pick a few out that I think maybe you can add to a little bit. Firstly, we'll start with a couple of questions from Jack. Jack mentioned, you talked about culture. He said, how do you implement a culture in the early days when you first come into a job, knowing that you may not be afforded the proper time you need to make inroads in achieving this? What do you think of that?
I think if you haven't got a long time, and it's kind of like crisis, and you know you've got to be up and running, then you've got to be different. Then you've got to be kind of autocratic leadership. There are different types of leadership, transformational, autocratic, democratic, and your leadership style depends on what players you've got in your dressing room and what is the job. So if it's crisis and you need results quickly, then you've got to go in and you've got to set the rules and you've got to be autocratic, tell them what to do and make sure you get leaders on board who do that. So you pick out the best ones that you can, you make sure you do that. And it's like having them in a circle, 3 or 4, and then you get them and you say to them, right, I want you to get him, I want you to get him, I want you to get him, I want you to get him. And all of a sudden, everybody follows and comes back into that circle until, and I say, when you've got a good dressing room, everybody's in that circle. The Mavericks will still be outside the circle in the corners, but there'll be no influence whatsoever. So quickly, in terms of if you need results quickly, if you get anybody who doesn't follow your values, doesn't follow your culture, doesn't buy into what you're trying to do, you've got to get them out the club. Great German coach, can't remember his name. Every club he went into, he picked on the 2 toughest or more senior or troublesome players, and he got them out the club. And he said, you're training with the under-23s. And all of a sudden the group went, we better follow him. If he does that to them, what can he do to us? And all of a sudden, he had to sacrifice 2 who stayed back. All of a sudden, the 2 hated it because what they don't, footballers hate. They love social contact. They hate not being socially contacted with the teammates. So alienating them, they hated it. And this group was so not scared, but fearful that they followed the rules and followed the regime and did that. And eventually the 2 were integrated back in. And he did that at every club that he went to. It's short-term success. Whether that lasts, it's only short-term, but if you need results quickly, that's what happens. Hope that answers it.
It did for me. Another one we had was from Matt, and he asked, you mentioned it a little bit, the importance of the staff, but how, when you first go into a club, do you look at building your staff, what is it you kind of look for in the whole entirety of the coaching staff if you have to, I guess, build your own staff and aren't taking on board the staff that are already there at the club when you join?
Yeah. Oh gosh, you've got to get everybody aligned, and alignment is the key thing. And communication, collaboration, especially within your staff, staff that you can choose. You've got to make sure that they cover your weaknesses. I'm not a very good organizer. I need a conciliary, a number two, who gets things ready for me. Then I can kind of perform. Paul Simpson was ideal for that. I'll always have an organizer around me, and I always now need a young coach around me to do the coaching. And it's the balance that you need. So one, you've got to know yourself. You've got to know your strengths and your weaknesses. You've got to play to your strengths, and you've got to cover your weaknesses. And that's what I've tried to do. And then integrate within that the sports science department, physio department, medical department, scouting department. It really is a collaboration from when I first started with me and the assistant, goalkeeping coach, physio. That was it. Now there's about 20 people around you. So getting around there is all about communication. Again, it's same with the players. You have to lay the rules, the values, the culture you want, the discipline that you want, and make sure that they do their job. And if they don't do the job, you need to know. And players know that they have to have your backing. The one thing, the biggest thing I learned going into Manchester United from Sir Alex was that first day. And I went in, I said, "What do you want me to coach?" And he said, "What do I want you to coach?" He says, "What did you used to do at Derby?" Before I got the answer out, he said, "Whatever you did at Derby, that's why you're here, son. Now get out there and coach." He kept trust. And it's an enormous thing within a football club. And he did that to every member of the staff. He trusted them to do their job. And you have to tell them the job and then trust them to do it, not micromanage. Otherwise, you end up doing everything. And he did that. He had a spell of that. His assistant nearly walked out when he was at Aberdeen. He said, "I'm off." "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm here. I do nothing. I put out the cones. I collect the cones. You do everything." He said, "I'm off." He said, Okay, I'll let you coach." So I let him coach, and he watched. And he said it transformed his managing. It transformed him. And he watched and observed and learned more doing that than when he was actually in it. And he took that on board. Biggest thing, trust in your staff. Don't micromanage.
Stuart has asked, have you mentioned that you don't think enough academies are working on defending in the 1v1 situation? However, what positive have you seen specifically coming through the academies from your perspective in the last 5 to 10 years compared to when you first got started?
Terrific in terms of what's happening, and definitely in England with the English FA, DNA of the England teams, youth teams all the way through, development of them, and there is some great talents coming through. They got a system within the academies, they got more coaching, and it's like the old thing. I remember reading about the All Blacks, and they had a bad time, the All Blacks. They went out the World Cup and they were getting criticised. And they said, we've got the talent. What they didn't have was the coaches. So what did they do? They coached the coaches. They coached the coaches to coach the players or the talent that they had. And they become world champions. Germany did exactly the same. England had done the same. We failed. We failed to get into Euros. Got to have a look at things. We've got talent. We just haven't got the coaches to coach the talent. And that's what they've done. They've employed more coaches. The coaches are terrific. Coaches are different class now in terms of methodology and knowing sports science and giving presentations and educating and teaching. They're absolutely delightful. And the players, technically better, getting out of small areas better. Still need to improve on that. Possession football, keeping the ball, build up from the back, things like that. But I think we're missing out on not enough without the ball. So I'm talking about transitions, rest defense, defending when we were attacking, and most definitely the individual 1v1 defending. I remember we always did, even with the strikers, defending 1v1. So when you come up against the centre half, instead of him passing it there and opening that, close that line, everybody needs to defend. Top teams, successful teams, everybody defends. You see Liverpool now, the front three, they occupy six. They can make sure that six don't build up against them. Everybody has to, and it's going out. I'd like to see that. And the art of heading, which is difficult because of the band that's going to come on heading, but the art of the heading has gone. And the art of defending the 2 6-yard boxes, you know, them old-fashioned centre halves, you know, even your John Terry's, shall we say, but Bruce Pallister, people, you know, defend the 2 6-yard boxes with their lives in terms of bravery and aggression. You know, things like that, defending, going out, we're concentrating too much on build-up, flowery things. Believe you me, Liverpool work as much on transition, winning the ball back, and being in a position to win the ball back, pressing high. Man City, Liverpool, the top 2 teams, all the top teams in Europe, press, probably apart from Juventus, but everybody else, Bayern Munich included, Barcelona, press. And everybody has to defend.
Great stuff. Laurie has asked, working at Conte was a success, as you obviously won the league, but is working abroad the biggest challenge of your coaching career? Well,
without a doubt. The toughest time was joining Manchester United, first 5 months. Never slept a wink for 5 months, never had a day off. It killed me. They were so demanding. If a corner was out of place, the session wasn't very good, it wasn't explained, didn't know. They killed me. But it gave me the breakthrough. That was the key. And going abroad was just a case of adapting. And I was lucky. I had Eric to start with, good staff, and I let them, and I did what Fergie did. I let them coach, and I watched and observed for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I adapted. And I said, "That's very good. What can I bring to this team?" And it was clean sheets, back foot work, how to win games, English mentality. Really was all I could bring. But the first 6 months. And I say to any foreign coach coming over to England, the first 6 months you'll struggle. You'll wonder, what the hell have I done? I did that in Holland, I did that in Germany. It's tough, but rewarding and so educational.
Ashwath has asked, can a player be more important than the club? Keeping in mind of the example of Zidane that you used, and how would you keep such players as well as making sure that things don't continue if they're being disruptive to the environment?
If they're disruptive and they're not highly influential on the team winning, whatever that is, and the team don't accept them, that's the key thing. They're out. I had Boksic. I mentioned him at Middlesbrough. Never warmed up with the team, always on the side. But we needed him to win football matches. And what we did was, I had a good relationship with him and handled him well. Players accepted him a bit. He won his football matches. But when the opportunity came, we paid him up and he had to go. And we got better, not better, but we got different people in. So use them until such time as you can replace them, if it's worth a while. But if they're disrupting and they're a bad apple, get them out.
A couple more, I think. And then Josh has asked, there's a lot of talk about leadership groups and culture in this day and age. And I know when we spoke to Steve, you mentioned that at Derby you'd worked with Dan, who we had on last week. During the treble winning season with Manchester United, how often would Sir Alex, yourself and the staff meet with the leadership group of the players? Was it something that was specifically looked at, or was it just kind of organic?
It's kind of organic, and I think a lot of work had been done previous to that. And it's in terms of his recruitment, and that's why he was so good. his recruitment. His recruitment was incredible, and he always got characters in, characters like himself, and it was, I just went in and Schmeichel, Gary Neville, Jaap Stam, Dennis Irwin, Keane, but not so much. But Giggs was also, Beckham in his own way was a leader. He got so many leaders and characters, and they were leaders in themselves. They wanted to be the best. So they're the top 5%. It's easy to do that. Creating leaders outside of that is always very, very difficult. But you can teach that. You can teach that. But that was a unique dressing room. I remember we came back, had a game at Old Trafford against Bayern Munich. I think 20 years on, 20 years on. And you see the men in that dressing room. Wow. I didn't realise it at the time, but they were all leaders, all men, all winners. And really easy to coach. Easy to coach as long as you gave them the best, the very best.
With that in mind, when you were working with Sir Alex, and you mentioned that he did such a great job of recruiting players of the right character in the dressing room, was that something that you guys worked on to identify that particular character trait within the recruitment process, or how did you guys manage that?
I think the key thing, one of the big things I learned from him was his relationship with players and how honest he was. And I think that's one of the values within that club was honesty, brutal honesty at times. Recruitment was a huge thing. And the key thing, and one I've always taken, always meet the player before you sign them. And he always did that. He always had a conversation. He always met them. And he always knew what was coming in. And very rarely did he get it wrong. And I took that on board. And when you look players in the eye and you just have a conversation, and sometimes you go abroad when you were signing foreign players, have dinner with them, he'd know the character. You can tell with the way they lift a knife and fork up, the way they order, the way they come in, took the chair in or not, whatever. It says so much. And he was terrific at that. Something I've tried to take on board too.
I guess two more, and one of them I think is a good one to start with. If you were looking back on yourself now, just as you were getting started, and for some of the younger coaches up to here who are in attendance, what advice would you have given yourself and these guys who are kind of just getting started out, and what are the most important things that they can focus on to really develop as a coach?
It's a difficult one. Someone asked me that in a podcast the other week. And I said I wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't. I think you've got to go through it, if that makes sense. You don't know, you don't gain experience until you go through it. So someone could say, "Well, don't do that. Well, do this and do that, and shortcut this and shortcut that." I think, yeah, I don't know. I think you have to go through the adversity, the mistakes, the bad behaviour, sometimes not being honest, sometimes not doing things. The one thing we say to the players is be professional. What is being professional? Do things right. And if anything, that would be what I would say to myself now, is do the right thing. Because when I was coming through and building, I didn't always do the right thing. It was a bit of a ruthless, bit of a harsh, bit of an autocrat, bit of, I always used to come in on a Monday and say to the staff, "Okay, what bridges do I need to build?" After I shouted at him at the weekend and done this at the weekend, done that. And I think I didn't always do the right thing. And I think nowadays you've got to do the right thing. You've got to have relationships, deep relationship with the players. The dressing room now, you mentioned it before, is a can of worms. It's something you've got to get right, and it's difficult to get right. Because if you get it wrong, you're out of a job. without a shadow of a doubt. Players have the power now to do that. You want people to follow you. So, not always. We told them, we have to sell it now. We used to yell it before. You have to sell it now. So the game has changed. And so I had to be how I had to be in them days. I think things are changing. And I think being professional, make sure you do the right thing. Still be brutally honest, but do it in the right way. And get to know individually in your players how they are, motivated, how they learn, because everybody's different. And so now I would say, I go into a football and say, how do you learn? How do you want to be? How do you want to be treated? You want to be criticised? Ryan Giggs, the gaffer used to kill him at half time. Why? He didn't kill. I said, well, you could have killed him. You should have killed him. You killed Giggs. He was all right. I know I'll get a reaction from him. I know what buttons to press for him. And that's his strength. He knew that. And that's what you need to know within your group. You need to be a lot close. You need to know each other's stories. You need to collaborate. You need to ask. You need to get them closer together. Dressing room is, as I said before, is a totally different subject. And one which, now I've got this time, I'm researching a lot, spending a lot of time using the military as an example. But believe you me, there's a lot of things go on Monday to Friday. But Saturday, 11 players and your bench, they're the most important people within a football club. That is the product. And you've got to get that right on a Saturday. So do everything towards that purpose. Do the right thing.
Do you find working with Dan at Derby and I guess other guys at other clubs and with the international that specialise in sports psychology and that social aspect of the game was really helpful to both yourself, your coaching staff and the players through that process?
I mean, there's two things. One, I've always used the sports psychologist from, I think that was, we were very innovative at Derby with Jim Smith. And we brought in Bill Bezic, sports psychologist. I know he's also well known in America. And he worked with me as a sports psychologist for the team, for the staff, but also as a mentor for me. He was my truth teller. He would tell me, you're blowing it, you didn't do this, you didn't do it. He was a real mentor, real truth teller. So, and he was a sports psych. So I've always taken a sports psych on board. Throughout, he's helped me so much. So he's coached the coaches to coach the players, and sometimes he's had a chat with the players as well. He's got big players. He's been everywhere, every sport, and to find a good sports psychologist to put in that environment is very, very difficult. But Bill was exceptional at it, and still is the very, very best. So I believe in sports psychology. We had. Just an example, we had one player last season. He'd been injured a long time for about a year out of the game. Anyway, he was coming back, but he couldn't lose the weight. And me and the technical director were going to give him a right telling off. And we said, get in here. Look what you're doing, everything. You're putting weight on. You've got a great chance. You've been through it. And he broke down. And he says, you don't realise what I've been through for a year. You don't realise, they've been at times suicidal. Never thought I'd play again. What am I going to do without football? And honestly, we were in shock, absolute shock. And we looked at each other afterwards and went, we can't deal with this. We don't know how to deal with it. We need an expert to come in. So we got a sports psychologist in now. We got a psychologist, somebody to talk to him and to walk through it. And he spoke to the player, and the player came up to us the next day and says, I've got to thank you so much. I've got to thank you for getting me in touch with this man. I just spilled everything. He just speaks my language. He knows what I'm going through. It's great. And he's back playing now, top of his game. So there is, it's very difficult finding someone that gets accepted. I've got a young boy who's a sports psychologist who's done his degree, done his master's, done everything. And you know what I would call him? I keep saying to him, don't call yourself a sports psychologist. Call yourself a performance coach. Because if you say sports psychologist, people look at you and go, oh, you're not right in the mind. If you're a performance coach, oh, someone to do with your performance, then that's different. So a little twist on things. I'm working on that one.
Perfect. The last one, and I think this is probably an interesting one for everyone here. What did you find to be the main difference, and I guess the main challenges between club football and international football from a coaching and managing perspective?
Look, when I became England manager, I was 24/7 working in the football club. I'd been assistant with England for 5 years with Sven. 1 year while I was at Manchester United, and the rest of the time when I was with managing Middlesbrough. So I was managing Middlesbrough and being assistant to England. So I had no time off. Every time there was an international break, I was away on internationals, dealing with them players. So I went from mad crazy, 24/7 working, to having the players 3 or 4 days at a time, twiddling my thumbs and my fingers. And at that time, my energy and my strength was on the field, and I couldn't be on the field. I got very frustrated, very bored, and couldn't find things to do to fill my time. I do it differently now, but I've made mistakes in the job when I took that, especially initially.
Perfect. And I think that's a good time to wrap up. You've been taking a lot of your valuable time, Steve, and we really appreciate it. All of the feedback that people have been providing in the chat has been fantastic. I mean, I think I will do the thanks for everyone, but this has been fantastic. The insights, the stories, all of it can help us all become better coaches. So I for one really appreciate your time, and again, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, and thanks for listening to me. I do go on, but thank you for listening.